Hello everybody and welcome to a very freezing Micks Mowers show. Frosty outside, it's about 8:30, 8:45. Just put the old heating on and it is mightily cold in the old Micks Mowers store. So, whilst the old shed warms up, I've got a pot of coffee on the go. I'm going to be looking at this 4-stroke or 4-cycle Ryobi strimmer, which should be quite cool, hopefully. And this little strimmer is a curved shaft one. This came free. I put a local advert up to say mowers, strimmers, generators, weed whackers, you know, whatever needed, dead or alive. I went to go pick up a mower, and on the way someone texted me and said, I've got this little Ryobi strimmer if you want it. I thought, okay. However, he said I can have it if I want it, so I thought I'll have it, even if it's just for spares, you know, just for the guard or the bobber, because, you know, the head, because they generally don't come with a head when you pick them up. So I thought I'll pick that up. Turns out it's 4-stroke, which means if I can get it running, it'd be worth a few more quid, which is cool. On top of that, let me grab his bits. He handed me this little kitchen roll bundle, and it's got in it. It's cold in here. It's got a carburetor rebuild kit, complete rebuild kit, brand new, and he's also given me a brand spanking new carburetor for it as well. So he bought those additionally because he was going to fix it himself, but then he hasn't got the inclination on how to do it. He has been honest. He said he has had a fiddle and he just can't get it to even fire. So he said it hasn't done a lot of work at all, despite the fact it being about 9-10 years old. He said it hasn't done a great deal of work. So he said you're welcome to have it and take it away and see how you get on. So that's what I did. I've had a little look over it. The first thing I noticed is there's no oil in it. There's a little tiny smidgen, that's all. So probably just enough just to wet the old whistle on the piston. But apart from that, not a lot of oil. So the first thing I've got to do is put oil in it. And I'll be putting in some SEA 30. They do say about using 20 weight, but then other sites say about using SEA 30. So it's conflicting, but I'm going to be putting in SEA 30. It's good for 4-stroke engines anyway, so that should be good enough. So without further ado, let's get down and dirty and let's check out this 4-stroke strimmer. Right, the old temperature is starting to pick up. So the first thing I want to do is just put the strimmer down in its resting position, which is flat. And at the back here, there's a little tiny dipstick, just hither, right at the very back of it. You can't miss it. There it is, tiny little thing. So I'm just going to pour some SEA 30 oil into this little container, and then I'm going to, I'm surprised it's not frozen. And then I'm going to just fill it up with oil via a syringe, because getting a funnel in there is going to be quite tricky. So literally got my syringe here, I'm going to tip that up. I'm going to suck up the oil. It's going to be a bit difficult because the oil is so cold. It don't really want to come up through the syringe. Like so. And just start to work some oil into the throat of that container, and that way I can have a more controlled way of checking the level. So let me just get it filled up with oil first. That's number one. That's the first thing I've got to do. And once I've done that, I'll come back to you, and we can then have a little look to see if we can't get this little puppy pulled over, see if it fires and all that sort of good stuff. So give us 2 ticks and I'll come back. So that's that. I put some petrol in the tank. Now I'm just a bit curious as to why he bought a new carburetor. It's got fuel in there. I just put fuel in, didn't I? Yeah, it's got fuel in there. So it's neat. Fuel goes into the tank because it has its own oil reservoir. It is a 4-stroke. Let's see if we have a priming carburetor. We do. The primer bulb looks to be a little bit scarred. I'm not convinced if that's actually going to be a working primer, but it is priming and it's not leaking. So we'll go for that for now. I'll put you over here, just there, and then we'll see if we can't get it to at least 5. Now I haven't done anything to this trimmer at all. I don't know if it's got an air filter in it, is it? Let's have a little look inside here. No air filter. So he has been in here. I say he has been on, so he did have a fiddle. So we've got a choke and we've got a run. There's no halfway in between. Okay, so let's just choke it. Let's turn it on, and let's give that a couple of pumps. I just want to put it over slowly just to get the compression up and get the oil on the piston. Get a bit of a happy birthday in there. So a couple of primes and we'll go for a fire, see what happens. That's on, that's on choke, let's see. A bit of smoke coming out of the exhaust already. Nothing. What's it say on here? Instructions. You get 10 pumps, it says. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Turn it on, give it some pulls, and yeah, choke it right. Right, doing nothing there. Okay, let's just check to see if we have actually got a spark or not. Off of the old, oh that's small. Off of the old carburetor, off the old spark plug. Maybe one of these two. Might be that one. Yeah, that one. There's a little screw at the back, little single Torx. That comes off, and then I think this whole cover, yeah, that all lifts off. Right. Oh yeah, that coil looks brand new. There's a little belt. Let's remove the old HT lead. Do you know what? I think the bloke's right. This hasn't done a lot. The spark plug looks darn near brand new, or it's been serviced. So it is about 10 years old. I've got a doctor's in about an hour, so I'm trying to get my throat looked at. Yeah, I've got tonsillitis, I reckon. Okay, so there's the spark plug, and we're getting absolutely, the spark plug is dry. We're getting no fuel on that at all, despite the pumping we've been doing. So let's just put that in there. Just want to try and check for spark if I can. Somewhere where it's going to short out. Be good. Somewhere there. Let's just check for sparky. Let's turn it on here. Yeah, lovely big spark. It is nice to see. That's good. So we're getting, so we've got a spark, but we're not getting no fuel through. So the only thing that leads me to where I'm going next is because he said he had a fiddle. And I should have texted him and said, what did you do? But what I tend to do with trimmers that have been fiddled is I try and go back to basics and start them from scratch. And I'll show you what I mean by that in just 2 ticks. Or it could be something else. Let's I can drop that down, take that off, and put that back on because that's not going to be needed. So I don't think I might eat my words in a bit. I have to come back and have a go at that in a minute. But, let's put that back in there. Oh, that's not on. So I was quite pleased when initially we said I had a Ryobi, or okay, you know, for those of you that have worked on, we've all had them before, and they ain't all that. But when I turned up, it was actually a 4-stroker. I was quite quietly pleased. Right, so that's that. So where I'm going to go next will be on the front of the carburetor. There's two jets, which are your slow and your fast running jets, and they're just located just here. And what is curious, what makes me curious, I've just seen that. Let me try and bring you in a bit so you can see a bit better. Try and get you nice and close. What makes me curious is that both of these jets, I don't think you can see that just yet. Let me drop you down a smidge. Sorry for the rockiness on my camera. I'm trying to get you guys in to see as much as possible. I've just spotted something which makes me curious. There you go, let me bring you right in there. How's that? You in? So here's your jets. This one is your slow, that's your high. And if you notice, both of these jets are both facing round the same way. That makes me curious, and there's a little bit of silver scratching going on the jet itself. I can just see some silver scratching, which means someone's had a fiddle with the jets. That's what it tells me. So I'll bring it back a bit so I can get in to about there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put both of these jets in all the way home, okay? So that they're screwed all the way in. I'm going to count the turns. So we're going to go clockwise. So that's one complete revolution. 1.5. Let's do the same with the other jet. One complete revolution. 1.5. So they're both exactly the same. Now it should run with that at 1.5, but what I do is I set mine to 1.25. So let's go back. So just seated. So make sure it's not too tight. Just seated. There's 1, and there's 1/4. I'll take it off the seat. There's 1, and there's 1/4. Now, as you can see, these are now not straight; they're slightly uphill. So I'm going to try that. So I always set all my jets to 1.25 turns. That way, anything should fire on 1.25 turns. That's the theory behind the madness. Okay. So now let's give that a couple more primes, and we'll see what we get. It's turned on. It's on choke. Got no fuel leaks. Okay. Let's see what happens now. Let's try again. A bit more fuel. Nothing. Okay, so I'm going to go back into the spark plug, and I want to see if we're getting any fuel. The tank is priming. Just heard the hiss, so we're getting pressure in the tank. That I can see. It's had lots of squirts, so I want to see that spark plug wet. That's what I'm hoping to see. Now, if it's not wet, just not, it's bone dry. 2 ticks, the phone is ringing. Alright, that's my old mate Luke. He's in a bit of a pickle at the moment. So with his Honda Izzy, which shall be explained on another video. But that's not getting no fuel at all. Getting nothing. So let me find a little bit of carburetor spray. Right, I've got my carburetor spray. Need to be quite quick with this because it'll evaporate before we know what the score is. So spark plug back in. Do that up. Put that on. So we had a spark back we know of. On. Let's see if we can't get this to fire. Oh, that fired then. That definitely fired. I heard it pop. Let's get a bit more fuel. I think the issue is that the carburetor is not priming. That's the issue. You're not seeing a great deal there, are you? Let's bring it back here a bit. You can tell when it fires because the pull cord slips. So, okay, where are we? So let's not muck about. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this carburetor off and I'm going to put the other carburetor on. That's what I'm going to do first off. And then if I can get it to run on that carburetor, all well and good, and we'll come back and have a look at this carburetor at a later date. So to remove this carburetor, a couple of 8mm nuts to come off. Let me get a magnet tray in. Trusty old magnet tray. It seems a bit weird not to clean this carburetor up when I've got a brand new carburetor sat on the side. That all comes off. But air breather pipe comes off. Be a bit careful here because all the hoses are all the same colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a cable tie. To just here. An old cable tie, and the one at the top, which is the back of a tank. Just going to put a cable tie around this one, just loosely, just so I know that that one goes onto the top of the carburetor. I'll put a long nose snips. I'm going to remove pressure from the tank, and then remove this fuel line, which will probably squirt me in the face. That won't. So that goes up the top. And then I've got one here which goes at the bottom, and then we've got the throttle linkage to remove in a minute. There's a throttle linkage, and there's my carburetor. It'd be interesting to see what's inside there when we come to strip it down, which I might do a separate video on that. Let's get that other carburetor in. Now you see this is brand new. It looks brand new. Let me just check the similarities. That's all good. That's slightly different, not a lot. That's all the same. That looks good. Yeah, this all looks to be the same. Okay, so that's the old one. So let's put the new one on. Throttle lever, throttle control goes on first. And then that all goes on, and we got the one at the front goes on the bottom, one on with a cable tie which can now come off. I know where it goes now. Goes up the top. So that all goes on. We've got an air breather to go on the back of the air filter box, which goes that way. That went in between them two pipes. Goes like that. That goes in there. That all goes on to there. 2 8mm nuts. This is how quick it is when you had the parts, and how lucky am I to come across a 4-stroke strimmer, if I can get it to work, with a brand new carburetor. So I don't know. It doesn't look like this has actually been fitted, this carburetor. I'm hoping it hasn't, but we shall see. He didn't say he had fitted it. He said he just cut it, so I've got a new carburetor for it as well. So that's all on. Let's try and give it a prime. Let's do that cap up. There she goes. That's making a noise over here now. I can hear it. Okay. So that's all good. I might change his fuel hoses at some point. I'm getting a little bit of air leakage coming out of one of his fuel lines. What tends to happen is the pipe fins on the tank. I'm going to lift it up a touch just to try and encourage it to be a bit thicker through the hole. That's good. Let's put a cover back on. All that sort of good stuff. Wouldn't it be great if it just fires up now? That would be lovely. I've got to put an air filter on it yet as well, which is no biggie. I know it's going to fit on there because it's slightly different. Push that down there. It's slightly different, that carb, but it should do the job. Yeah, it does. Okay, right. Okay, so that's all back together. Let's clear a few tools. Are you still running? I know my battery's a little bit low. Yeah, you're still running. Good. So let's try this one. This is a new carburetor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. On to choke, turned on here. Let's see what we get now. Oh, did anyone else hear that? Okay, it wants a tune. That's definite. I think there's a little bit of slack on this throttle. I'm squeezing, of course. See, I'm squeezing, it's not even moving there. So I'm going to adjust that idle out so that it picks it up straight away. To get rid of some of that slack that's going on. And I need to cut the ends of the pull cord head because they're touching the guard, and you won't be able to get a decent load on that if they're too long. That's that snipped. Anyway, it made a noise, which is good. So now let's try that again. I don't like the way that that's got all that movement before it opens up, but we shall see. Right, let's give it another pull, see what happens. I just want to try and get it warmed up, that's the idea. Choke it. Fired. Get rid of these bits. I'm a bit excited now. Definitely needs a tune on this carburetor, but there's still, it's not picking up off of that idle. So So let's wind it in a touch, just to try and improve some of this stuff that's going on. See how far we can go to take that slack up. Let's try that. Let me cut them cords back a bit more on the trimmer, because it's actually hooking up on that guard, which is not a good thing. We bend them down a touch, so it's not interfering. Let's go again. Okay, so we're running, but we're not doing anything we shouldn't be doing here. So what's what? There's no high and low. I'm guessing it's going to be the same as this one. So that would be low, this would be high over this side. So let's have a bit of a tweak up to see what we can't do. Let's get a bit more fuel. And let's choke it again. I'm going to try and tune it now. Just literally a mixture issue. I think the slow running jet has caused me a few problems. These seem really loose too, which is not a good thing. But it is running. Let's try and fire it again. Get a bit more of the old good stuff. Don't forget it hasn't got an air filter too, which isn't helping. Let's wind them all the way in, or we're quite a long way out. That wasn't too bad. I'll get a slightly different screwdriver in. Oh, that one's done up. That one's done up. Right. One full turn, 1 1/4. One full turn, 1 1/4. Let's see what we get now. Onto choke. try and get it to run long enough with the to do the carburettor. I think the issue I'm getting is there's so much slack on this throttle control, it's not actually opening flat out. So I might need to do something with that. I might even put the old carburettor back on and give it a clean. There's so much slack because there's a difference in the hole size on these. So much slack, see that slack? But we are getting there. Let's open that slow one up a touch. See what that does. Right. Let's bring that one out. I don't like that. Let's run it a bit leaner. Let's give it one turn, see how that does. Seems like that. A bit leaner. No, a bit richer. Okay, so we know where it runs, that's the main thing. It's just not running right. So this bulb is a little bit perished just there. So I'm going to put a new bulb on it anyway, which I got given off my Amazon wish list, which is cool. So I've got a complete carb rebuild kit for this. Now it should have started running with that other carburettor, but it's not to say that's the right carburettor. That's what I'm curious of. Too bad. I'm going to change the bowl. Oh, well, it's good in there. Let's have a little investigate into the other side. The diaphragm could be a bit wonk. As I say, he may have been in here. You don't know, do you? It's not having on this carburettor. It's not having it, is it? That's a fact. I think I've got a doctor's in a bit, so I might have to come back to this a bit later on today. Before I strip it, I want to make sure that I've got the carburettor gasket set he's got is the right one too. I shall allow the bits out so we can see. Okay, that's all good. Yeah, diaphragm looks a little bit a little bit knackered. It's not too shabby, I've seen a lot worse. That's all that's good in there. So you've got two locating holes, which is where this goes on. So that goes on like so. There's no catch on the back. And the two little tiny lugs go towards the two holes go towards the adjusters. The gasket is good. The gasket can stay. Let's have this needle out. So I may need to get a slightly different screwdriver in there, slightly smaller one. Let's try that, see if that goes in. Yeah. So I'll definitely put a new diaphragm in, that's what I will do. Because that'll help loads, because this one wasn't getting any fuel in at all, was it? There should be a little tiny needle in here. And what's amazing is that needle didn't actually come out when I asked it to. It may be a bit gunked up in there. Let me just try and find a dental pick. Oh, there's one. There's a little needle. Let me try and ease that up without damaging that gasket too much. Here it is. Out comes the old needle. Okay, that's good. I'm then going to remove these jets. Now there should be two different sizes. This is a high one. Oop. Losing no bits now, Mick. So this is a high jet. Now you want to put these to one side. There's a high. And let's remove the low, because sometimes they're different sizes. These are a lot stiffer in this carburetor. I have a feeling the other carburetor, when you tune it, they're going to move. So this is the low one coming out. I can feel that throttle moving there. There's a low one. Let's have a little look. So the low one is a hair's breadth slightly longer. So make sure that the low one goes back in its hole. The low one is longer. That's that. There's nothing else I can get into here to aid me to clean this carburetor up, apart from the obvious carburetor cleaner, air compressor. I might even put it in the old ultrasonic cleaner too, just to give it a bit of a helping hand. And we go from there. So I need to do that in a carb cleaner, and then this gasket. Is that going to come off in one go? Just round it up the top, so it only goes one way. It's got the little read on first. It's caught on that one there. Little gasket goes on underneath it, so put that on top like so, and you know which way it goes round for later on when you go to put it back. Not a lot in there to clean out, a few holes, that's about it, but that have a clean as well. With a new primer bulb in there, I'm sure this carburetor is going to work. So let me get to the cleaning side of it. You don't need to see me do it. I'm going to put stuff in everywhere. There's a bit of gunk in there, I can see it. And I'm going to run the carburetor cleaner all the way through it, through all the holes, and then I'm going to either put back the old stuff. Let's have a quick little look, see what you give me. You give me a bag of bits. Couple of primer bulbs, so that we need a new one of those. And we got a new gasket for the carburetor. And we got some other bits here. Yeah, these are the right ones. Yeah. Which one was it? It was that one I want, which would be, I think that one. That's the one. Yeah. So I've got all the right stuff there. So I put a complete new gasket set in it. So we know exactly where we are. So let me get it cleaned, let me come back, and when I come back I shall rebuild it once it's all been cleaned up, and we'll go from there. Right, I'm going to take this new carburetor back off. So I'm not convinced that this is either the right carburetor for it, or if he's not had a tinker. So to rule it out, that's going to come back off, and I can re-investigate this later on. The other thing I'm going to do also is down the bottom of the strimmer, there's that the strimmer guard. I'm going to raise that up a touch as well, because it's catching the nylon, which means I can't rev it up properly because it's catching, which means I'm not going to get the load on it. So that one comes off, the back goes up the top. Ooh. Drop that. Back goes up the top, don't forget that. Carburetor off. Now there's actually no gasket here, and there should be, so I've got some spare gaskets. I don't think there's a gasket up the other end. No, there wasn't. So let me get this little bag open. You couldn't get a smaller bag if you tried. That'll be easier. So one goes there, which would be that one, and lines up with a hole just there. So we're going to put that gasket on. That's the old car, that's the new car. This is the one I just rebuilt. Hole goes up the top. I want to hook up the throttle before I do any of that. I've got the throttle. Come on, baby. That goes on there. Back goes up the top. That one goes in there. That one in there. As I said, this is a bit too low for my liking. You can see where this line's going to be. If I pull it out roughly straight, that's not going to be hitting that that wire. So I'm just going to loosen that off. That's about a 10 or 12 mil. I'll say 12. No, it is a 10. Be 11 now. You won't see. I told you. Just going to loosen this off ever so slightly, and I just want to raise that up a touch because I think it is just slightly striking the nylon. So loosen that off, and then if I can, just ever so slightly. Oh, there's another. Oh, no, it might be fixed. There's a bolt behind it I can see. To me, it's too low. Not by a lot. Cool. We'll do that up, He-Man. So no, it can only go in one place. There's a bolt behind there. Okay. So happy with that. In that case, so I'm not happy with it, but it's where it needs to be. I think that back up. It was just catching the guard. That's that. Okay, happy. Happy. So now I'm going to prime it up again, see if we're not getting any fuel coming out of this tank. That's not tight. Alright, now let's see what we've got. Oh, let's see what we've got now. Put you guys back here and see what we get if we now try and start it. See what the difference is. Don't forget I've got to do the tuners on it as well, because they're currently in tight, so it won't start at the moment because there'll be no fuel getting through. So let's do them first. Loosen them off just so we're well seated, and we'll go 1 1/4. Well seated. 1 1/4. And you can see there's no slack on that cable now either. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, I'm going to put the airbox on. Not that there's a filter on it yet, but there will be soon. Let's see. if that makes any difference at all. Now it's making that noise. In fact, that's got to be off because I might need to tune it, so it's no good being there. Okay, let's have a little bit of a fire. It's on to choke. It's turned on. Let's see what happens. Nothing there. Take it off. Nothing. It likes that carby. Right, we've got the top end running, which is good. Now to just try and get the bottom end running. I don't think I can adjust that. No, I can't. It doesn't give you an adjustment to do that when the cover's on. So ideally, I would like to do it with the air filter on, you see. Anyway, we're back to running. So that carburettor, that old one, there's something up with that. That wants looking into. I might bung it through the ultrasonic cleaner. So I'm going to try and get it just to idle up, but there is quite a bit of slack. There's quite a bit of slack before it even comes into play. So I'm going to wind in the idle screw just to help it idle. And just try and take some of that slack up. And let's try that again then, see what happens. Oh. Right, so just move the old rockers cover, and there's a bit of, I don't know what that is on there. There's something on that cam. See it? It's like lifting off. I think it's got some damage to the actual cam itself. Just noticed it. If I rotate it just a touch more, you can see there's damage to that. That cam's nowhere near as smooth as what it should be. It's red hot is what it is. I'm lifting bits off. So I might look into getting a new cam for it, because I don't think that's right. Look, I've got all sorts of stuff coming off of that cam. Let me get a pair of forceps in there, see what that is. What is that?
Looks like plastic. So that cam is nowhere near as smooth as the other one is. So I think there could be a problem with it. It looks cooked to me, and that could be affecting the gaps. But both the inlet and the outlet, this is your inlet, that's your outlet, are working, as you can see. But I have a sneaky feeling, oh sorry for knocking you out, but something there is not quite right. So yeah, I think it was a question of no oil. Next to no oil. That's why that cam is cooked. Let me just show you guys to get a better look at it so you can see what I'm seeing. You see the damage to that cam, and I'm convinced that's why it's not throttling up as well as perhaps it could do. And that damage is throughout that exhaust cam. As you can see, I'll just rotate it gently. See the damage compared to the other one? There's lots of damage on there. So that's what it is. This will be part 1 of this video. I'll come to part 2. If you can find me a new cam for this, I'll figure out how to get that out. It shouldn't be no biggie. That'll come off. There's better be a circuit behind here or something. I don't think there's a lot involved to take it out. I wouldn't have thought. And I'll just mark up the top dead centre on the timing. The timing can be thrown as well. You don't know what he's been up to in here. So that's where we are, and that's where we're going to leave it. I will just put it together one more time just to see if by taking one bit off it helps. But I've got a sneaky feeling the reason it's not doing what it should be doing is because of that cam. So let us know your thoughts and what you think. Goes that way around, I think. My phone's ringing. It's probably Mrs. P. Well, I don't know how I got into a doctor's, I expect. So let me put that back together. So what, you know, it's something silly, and if it's not throttling up as much as I would like, and I think that's the reason why. It's just the cam is not doing what it should be doing. So a bit of a shame, but as I say, I'm not giving up on it. I'll come back to it once I get a new cam for it. So if you can find me a cam, I'll give you the model number when I do the end of the video, and we'll go from there. So I'm just going to try and fire it up one more time. I don't think it's going to make any difference because the valves will be set differently, and because the cams are not smooth, I therefore can't set it, which is an issue, and you shouldn't be getting damage like that. So let's put it onto chokes, turned it on, let's give it some primes. I think it really wants to go, but it had no oil in it, or next to no oil in it, and I think that's the problem. So that's on choked. Let's give it a couple of pulls. That's about as much as I'm getting out of it. That's about it. So I get a bit of fuel coming out of here, and that tells me I'm not burning the fuel up going out. It's coming back, and that's coming back through the air breather. So I think that's what it is. Because the fuel is not being burnt out that way, it's coming out this way. If you were noticing, there's some vapor coming out of here, and you shouldn't be getting that amount of vapor coming out. So that's what it is. I'm pretty much convinced of that. Okay, so there you have it. I think we're 3/4 way there. I'm convinced it's the cam that's doing it. Until I get a new cam for it, there's nothing I can do. Don't forget, this cost me nothing. So I haven't used any new parts apart from the parts that are donated with the machine. So I'm quite happy with it, and I'm convinced that when I get the cam sorted, it won't be a problem. So for those of you, I've got a bit of homework for you. The serial number is 100 500 4204, and the make of the strimmer is a RLT 430 CES. So have a look for me, people. Help me out. If you can find one, brand new preferably, on any of the sites, give me a shout, send me a link, what have you. Preferably in the UK would be good. And then I will figure out how to take the cam out. It shouldn't be a bad job. Put a new cam in, reset the valves. I have a sneaky feeling that's what the issue is. Before I go any further with purchasing that camshaft, I'm going to double check to see what the piston looks like, because it was run very low on oil. It feels like it's got plenty of compression in there, so I don't think that is the issue. However, if it is a problem, I could possibly change it over for a full 2-cycle strimmer, or just keep the shaft and go from there. Sorry, the old phone just rang. It's Riley's school. He's not on a very good day. So you got the numbers. Have a little look to see if you can't do something with it. Let me know and I'll figure out a cam on it. But as I say, they are done in fouls, so the slightest variant on that cam will have a knock-on effect to the exhaust valve. It's as simple as that. If we're talking inches, it wouldn't be so much of a problem, but we're talking minuscule. And as a cam is not nice and smooth, that exhaust valve is doing stuff it shouldn't be doing. That's the conclusion I'm under. So thank you very much for joining myself on this episode of Micks Mowers. That was for you, Bruce. I know you wanted that one up next, so we will continue with it. I'm not going to give up on it. We'll definitely come back to it. I believe it will run. Sort of double check the piston, make sure that's not doing anything it shouldn't be doing. However, I think if I can get a cam for it and the piston is damaged but the cylinder's not, there could be something I could do that possibly. We shall see. So you will be seeing this one up on the bench very soon. So thank you very much for watching this episode of Micks Mowers. Hope you did enjoy it. Hope you found it informative. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. That would be fantastic. And also to set your bell notifications to all, and that way you'll be notified that I've got another video coming out, or in fact I'm on my weekly live stream where you can come up on the panel and join me and ask me questions and tell me what I'm doing right, tell me what I'm doing wrong, all that sort of good stuff. So until next time, people, don't forget, more importantly, take her easy.